You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview innovators in the vet space every week. Ivan, why don't you go ahead and introduce today's guest?
Hi, I'm Ivan Zach, and I'm happy to introduce a friend of mine and a colleague and a classmate, Dr. Tara McCarthy. We're going to talk today about wellness and health of professionals. And Tara is the graduate of Atlantic Vet College from the same class of 2006. And she works as a veterinarian in Southport Animal Hospital on Prince Edward Island. And she won an award for large animal medicine and theratogenology when she was in school. And she's also a wellness and health coach, which is sort of the center of our discussion today. On a personal side of things, she is certified in veterinary acupuncture, which is interesting. She does it for horses as well, which I didn't know before vet school that you can do acupuncture for horses. And she owns a CrossFit gym, which is really cool, with her husband, and she is a level 1 trainer in CrossFit. She's happily married with 2 beautiful kids. Tara, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
So there's quite a few things I wanted to talk about, and I think that you're sort of the example of veterinary industry of balance between profession and health. And for the most part, people like me try to run away from veterinary medicine and hide behind the technology. So you've been successful in balancing the two and finding happiness, or at least it looks on Facebook, as with everybody, that people are happy. Sometimes that's not true. And you help.
Are you saying it's all a front, Ivan?
What's that?
Are you alluding that Tara's life is all a front? It's all just fake Facebook news?
Nice. So, and Tara personally helped me to get in shape and lose weight through dietary suggestions and exercise. And she helped Shawn to lose 60 pounds. So
yeah, and like both, it's crazy.
So we are both of the result of your inspiration. And so tell us how do you actually switch focus, and how did you get into sort of wellness and balance that between the professional life and your personal life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it happened to me the same as it happens to most people, where you almost hit bottom and get total burnout or whatever it is, have a health scare, whatever it might be, and you have to make a shift in your life. And so, as we know, burnout is such a huge issue in veterinary medicine. And, you know, you take me back to 6 years ago. I just had my second child, and one, that throws a huge loop into your life, you know, after you've gone to school for so many years to be a vet, and then you become a mother, and it completely shifts your goals in life and what you really want to do and what's important to you. But I had been a large animal vet. I practiced in New Zealand, in Alberta, in rural Nova Scotia. I moved around quite a bit. I did a lot of different things, worked with a lot of different animals, but mostly large. I worked a little bit small animal emergency, but I was strictly a large animal vet. Lots of after hours, late night calvings, and, you know, colics and C-sections and all those nasty things. And I was missing out on my kids. I wasn't seeing my kids some days because I was gone. And I was at the point where I was wondering why I was doing this, why, you know, I had kids for a reason. And so after my second kid, we as a family transitioned, and that's when we opened our CrossFit gym. It was an opportunity for my husband. And we were in a new area, and I shifted. There wasn't a lot of vet jobs because where I live, it's saturated with vets because of the college that's local.
OBI.
Yeah. And so when I moved here and when I came off mat leave, I was only working 1 day a week. And I had to be home, to be honest, because my husband was working all the time. I'm sure, you know, your wives can relate to that too, right? So I had to be home to take care of the kids. And I was very resentful of where I was in my life. I'd worked so hard to become a vet, and I thought I was going to achieve all these great things. And then everything just got kind of turned upside down. I was exhausted. And I just thought, that's how you're supposed to feel. You're a mom. Like, this is normal, I guess. Like, from the rest of my life, I'm just going to be tired. I was angry. I was tired. We ate well. We eat well as a family. So I just kind of fell into this. When you're that tired and stressed, you know, it puts strains on your relationships, on your marriage. And so everything just seemed to be crumbling. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. They, you know, especially, you know, other vet moms out there, that when that shift kind of happens, I was like grasping at straws. And so I found something that worked for me, nutrition based. And the reason that I was attracted to it was, as you mentioned, I do acupuncture. I'm certified in acupuncture. I love herbs, Chinese herbs. And it was the herbal formulations that I really started to investigate, and adaptogens, which is a pretty hot word now if you look in the health and wellness world, but it's to do with stress. And as we all know, the veterinary profession is littered with lots of stress and your adrenals and that sort of stuff. And so my adrenal health and really just my overall body health, I got on board. I put it in my body. It was convenient. It was easy. And it gave me results very quickly. And I had mental clarity. I felt happier and more energy. I became a better mom, better wife. And that all leads to more positive changes, right? I wasn't even working out, guys. We owned a CrossFit gym and I didn't go to the gym because I was so tired.
Wow.
So once I had that energy back, I started going to the gym, and then I started making friends because I was just a mom at home by herself who was very isolated.
I can't imagine
And
you
then,
without
you know, it
friends.
just started to snowball. So it's just crazy where the journey will take you.
Wow, that's quite a story. I mean, you know, the burnout is, we keep talking about it. It's kind of a fancy topic, but aside from fancy topic, very real. I mean, I burned out that I could diagnose. Well, once it was diagnosed by a shrink. The second time I realized, because once I worked through it, exactly the same feelings, except I didn't have two kids. Well, I didn't deliver kids. I have a child. But I burned out way before my son was born. Emergency medicine just grinds you down. And when you come out of school energetic and feel like you can do it all, and then you continue with that pace, and then it's like a 10-year wall or something like that you hit, like somewhere between 7 and 10 years, I think, of the profession just burns you. And I think that if you don't find the right way, so many of our classmates reached out and say, hey, Ivan, how are you doing the software thing? How did you get out of the vicious cycle? And then on top of it, you know, your student loans are still there, so you can't do anything else because you have to pay those off. So it's a pretty miserable way of existing. So, you know, it's just incredible how you sort of got out of that cycle without external help. I needed help, and then transformed yourself. It's really great. And you know, with your help, I hit more regular sort of, you know, the diet and the gym, and it really changed. Now it's really hard because I travel so much. I'm trying to follow your instructions and help. And by the way, I was just in Texas with Dan Espinal, CEO of Rare.
Awesome.
So I told him that we're having this interview. He loves it. He's a machine in general. He's so athletic, but he also follows your recommendations.
Tara, one, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for all the suggestions that you've given to me. I think we spent maybe a total of an hour on the phone, and that's all it took for me to get enough motivation between you and Ivan dragging me to CrossFit to be able to lose weight and get in a healthier place. I still remember the first night I went to CrossFit with Ivan. You'll appreciate this story. It was pretty brutal.
Oh, good.
So we needed to buy desks for the new company, and Ivan was helping us with the company and helping me move off being giant, overweight, fat ass. And so he's like, come to CrossFit. I think he did it for good reasons. Like, I think he was a kind-hearted soul. I don't think he just was trying to make me in agonizing pain and not be able to move the next day. But we went to IKEA and we bought the desks, and then I was going down the stairs after an hour CrossFit workout, no introduction to CrossFit, basically zero, maybe level 10 fitness of 100 at this point in my life. And I was going down the stairs, and I went to go down the first step, and I almost fell completely down the stairs, head over heels, and rolled down the stairs because my legs literally gave out from underneath me. It was so
It was a beautiful thing.
Oh, God.
That was the start. And it's so funny because, over 70% of our office at my new tech startup, we all go to CrossFit together. And it's just been such a great team building thing. Yeah. And then Ivan, when he's been in town, he's come to CrossFit with us. And we're super lucky to have this wicked CrossFit gym in Halifax called Ironstone. It's just...
Yeah, I know Ironstone.
It's so nice. It's like a health spa in the bathrooms, and the gym is just fantastic. People are so great. I remember a couple weeks ago, I got a call from a number that I didn't know. And I always pick up the phone when people call me. I'm not like Ivan, who just, he doesn't recognize a number, or even if he does recognize a number, he might not pick up. I always pick up. And this person on the other end said, "Hey, we haven't seen you in a while." And I was like, I think you have the wrong number. And it was the CrossFit gym calling to say, like, "Hey, you haven't been in a while. Like, why don't you come back?" And it was so nice. The person that called, I had done my CrossFit introduction class with, and so I knew her really well. And so after I told her that she had the wrong number and figured out who it was, we had a nice little chat, and then it motivated me to go back to the gym, which was super cool. And so I've really loved the CrossFit journey. I've loved, the diet suggestions, and it really pains me to say this, but Ivan, thank you for introducing me to Tara.
We're recording this,
Yeah, thanks for introducing me to Tara, and thanks for providing a bunch of motivation to kind of get my health in check. It was a real nice gift that you gave me, and at some time I may return the favor. We'll see how it goes.
That's awesome, Shawn. So, Tara, with what you do right now, I know it's not only about you, and that's what so inspired me to invite you here, because a couple of things that you probably would not give yourself credit for. First of all, we interview innovators. You being a veterinarian and then CrossFit and wellness, you have probably the strongest social media campaigns that I've seen in marketing. And marketing is my passion and what I do. And then you market yourself and your lifestyle and everything that you do exceptionally well on social media. So kudos to you. On top of that, you also work with other parents, new mothers that are in the same position, and just fat folks like Shawn and I. So can you tell us more? How did you transition from this being just for you to giving it to someone else, and how did you actually come up with, okay, this is how I should maintain myself on social media, this is how I engage? Your posts are probably the most that I see every day, and they're always interesting. So tell us, how did you get into this business aspect of it?
And one more thing, I stack another question on top of it. Like, Tara, today was the first time that we've connected in 6 months. What does it feel like to know that you've inspired somebody to lose 65 pounds in a pretty short amount of time? And that somebody's...
You said it was 60. So, you just added 5. You just add 5 pounds to your success.
Yeah, no, it's I'm down. Like, so my peak, like a year and a half ago, which was before I started the stuff with Tara, was 265, and I'm down 201 now. So
Jesus,
that is so cool. Yeah. Okay. So I hope I can remember these. The social media thing, I think I'm still learning and getting better at. But a lot of it is just kind of stepping outside your comfort zone and speaking your truth to inspire other people. Sometimes, Facebook, known as fake book, like you say, everybody's life looks amazing. But sometimes you need to get a little bit raw and uncomfortable and just sharing your own story so people can connect with you and just be genuine. And it's all about relationships, really. So for me, how this all started was after I started getting my groove back and feeling like the old Tara, except, and then I had kids and like a new life and a job. And it honestly really just happened very organically and naturally, where some of my best friends, actually some of our classmates that were still my best friends in life, they wanted what I had because they could see a change in me. I wasn't maybe as cranky and sarcastic. Like, they wouldn't see me in person, but like they could just tell talking to me over the phone I was different, and they wanted to try it. So I just helped them, and then seeing them and their journey and how it changed their life and them feeling better, it just started to snowball, and it was really accidental. But on the other side of that, we had just opened a gym. We were broke. I was working 1 day a week. I now work 3 days a week, which is a great balance for me, but I was working 1 day a week. I just came off mat leave. We were completely broke. And on top of that, you have all your loans, your mortgage, like everything is just coming down on top of you. And you're just like, how the hell did I get here? This was not in the plan when I graduated vet school. So there was an income opportunity there, not only for me, but for other people that I could help. And I'll tell you, like, it lights me up inside when I get to be part, like Shawn, just like you mentioned, like when I get to be part of somebody else's journey, to see their life change, their energy gets back, they lose weight, whatever it is, just get their health on track. And it also lights me up when I can help a mom put her daughter in dance class or whatever it is, right? Health and wealth go hand in hand with each other. And I think that's part of the problem in veterinary medicine, to be honest, because of the financial stress that we're under. But that's really how I got going. And it was slow. Like, it was very uncomfortable for me, completely out of my comfort zone. You know, I was a little bit embarrassed because I went to school for so long to be a vet. And now all of a sudden I'm doing like whatever it was that I was doing. Like, you kind of get a little bit of judgment, and I don't like to make people not like me. So it took me a while to step into it and really be proud of what I was doing, because I loved what I was doing. We have a lot of negative stuff in our job, although we have lots of great stuff, but this is something completely positive to focus on. And it just, you know, it just lit me up every day.
Well, you know, going through the journey of building social media platform, and that's what you've built for yourself, not knowing probably, because, you know, when we built SmartFlow, I had to learn all of this stuff and how to have a social media presence, how to be consistent, how to be engaging. Most of what you post engages me to say something. It's funny, it's interesting. Then you post little physical activity challenges. I will never do 100 burpees. I'm sorry. I thought of it. And then I was like, I'll just embarrass myself on the 10. So this is the most hateful exercise. But you build a very robust social media presence. You have followers. People are talking to you on social media. It's one thing to post kittens and puppies, another one to get people talking back to you or with you. It's really, really important in marketing. So that is actually a very significant achievement that you have. I don't know if you noticed it or not. But what resonated with me, what you said, is this act of passing on something that you've received. And I think that basically reciprocity is one of the strongest things that move things between people. And I had this experience when I just came to Canada, when I just went to school to Atlantic Vet College. I don't know if you knew this, but I was helping immigrants from Russia or Ukraine help families, you know, get a job, you know, celebrate local holidays, just to get through the cultural fit. And the best thing that I ever felt in my life, I think, aside from my probably child being born, was that I met people that I helped on PEI in Toronto 7 years later, and they told me the story of how they helped dozens of families the same way I helped them, and those families helped them, and that's something you can't buy. So I think that is really, really cool what you're doing, and I've heard it in multiple business books and courses after that reciprocity is one of the ways actually to use in your business, where you get something, you give it to someone else, and you train them to give it to someone else as well. So this is a really cool thing, and I think that what we lack in veterinary medicine is that with all the kindness in our hearts that we're doing, and I think that part of burning out as a veterinarian is that we provide with the kindness in our heart all this help to animals, and it's to people as well. And then, especially as an emergency veterinarian, I felt this: you never see this passed on or given back to you. You provide the service, people hate you because you charge money, and then you're there late at night, they don't want to see you because they were having a beer at home while their dog started puking. And then once you fix their dog, they don't see the miracle of medicine, they just think that you're an asshole because you charge them money for it. And that's the problem, I think, as a veterinarian. So I think that when we shift our gears to do something what you're doing, and I feel like, I felt with those immigrants that I was doing, I'm doing something else right now, I think that's the biggest reward you can get aside from the money. So that's really, really cool story. Shawn, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, and I wanted to pick up on it because I think it was really, really important, is this connection between health and wealth. And I'd like to even get you to expand a little bit more on how that journey went for you, particularly where you felt burdened by all this student debt and all of these life circumstances. You didn't have health, you didn't have wealth. And how did you come out of that, and how did it feel?
It's a great question, and I think it's a very valid question for veterinarians, for veterinary medicine, and obviously the general population as well. But I think veterinarians have their own specific challenges where this plays a role even more so. And when you kind of step back and look at the general health issues facing the Western world, the way that we live, our fast pace of life, The underlying factor for so much of it is chronic stress. And specifically with veterinarians, we have our own specific set of issues with stress, and we talk about it all the time: passion fatigue, burnout, high client expectations. And then also their limited financial resources. It is no surprise, everybody realizes this now that's a veterinarian, that we have huge student debt when we graduate vet school. And also, like other professionals, we are graduating when we are older. We are entering the workforce when we are older, so that we start into life quickly once we start making money, having families and having mortgages and all that kind of stuff. The financial burden on top of veterinarians is even more so than, some others. And we know, all veterinarians know, chronic stress eventually catches up to you. Chronic stress being high cortisol levels in your body, is going to start to cause changes. It lowers your immune system. You start losing lean muscle. You start losing bone density, especially for women. You start to gain that dangerous abdominal, that visceral fat. You start having insomnia. It affects your hormones. It really just has this cascade of issues that it causes, and it may manifest stronger in some individuals than others, the way it shows up, but it is going to show up at some point. So if you're spending all day in this stressful clinic situation, or whatever it is, there's lots of different things, but where you're high stress, making life or death decisions, having difficult conversations, or just doing your best trying to practice good medicine, and then you come home at night and all you can think about is how many bills you have to pay and the debt that you have sitting on your shoulders, how you're ever going to get out of this hole, then it just compounds it all. You never have a chance where you feel like, relaxed and you can let that stress go. So I think, and I see this, the veterinarians that I help, they have a lot of common factors when I start talking to them about their health. And the first thing is low energy. They're all exhausted. They are high stress. Obviously, they always talk about stress in their lives and how stressed they are. Whether it's not just a career, but family life, financially, just life in general, they feel stressed. They often have guilt with food because they are stressed. It's a fast-paced life. They don't have time to eat good, nutritious food, so they're grabbing quick fixes that they can just eat in between appointments, and then, that raises their sugar for a little bit, and then they crash, and then they grab caffeine to keep themselves going. That's the other thing I see. A large percentage of us are addicted to caffeine, and that's because our energy isn't good. Our cortisol is high, and we have issues that way. So they have guilt with food, and they have caffeine addiction, and many of the veterinarians that I help have 20 to 40 pounds to lose on average. Some of them not so much, some of them more. And a lot of the times it's that belly visceral fat. And it's just, it's all these classic signs of chronic stress that's just kind of accumulated in their life. And so what I do is I help them find a way to have convenient nutrition that they can have in this fast-paced life, as well as make their body more resilient to stress. That's a huge part of it. And so many of them that I have talked to and helped will say later on, like, the chaos is still there. They still have the chaos in their lives, but they just feel like it can slide out their back a little bit more, They just feel like it's a little easier to handle. So I think it's really important for our health, for our mental health. I think alcohol overusage, addiction is also a common issue, just because they are so stressed, they're trying to get away from it a little bit. So all of it is related, and it's kind of just like the snowball rolling down a hill. And so I'm just trying to slow that down and find a solution that you can easily implement into your lifestyle. And then other things like finances, when you're strapped for money, you don't do all the other things, you don't buy the organic food, you don't go to your chiropractor, your naturopath, or go to yoga, or buy a gym membership. All those things kind of get cut when you have to make these sacrifices. So I think it all adds up, and it's very visible with the veterinarians that I help.
Thanks so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. We're pretty social people, so you'll find us on every social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at theveterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening.